Hey everybody, it's Witchy, and today is a nice rainy day, and I have my little cup of tea here, and I just felt like today was a great day to do a book review. Okay, everybody, I had mentioned in my last video that I was doing the alphabet book challenge where you go down the alphabet and you pick a book that has that title and you read it. But I was doing it a little bit different. I was doing the randomizer one, and I know a few people who do that. But the first letter that I had got was R, and today am going to review that letter, which was this book, Reverie, Reverie, something like that. You might pronounce it different. And this is by Ryan La Sala. I might have said that wrong, but it's this book. And this book, there's a lot. There's a lot that happens in this book. And in fact, I actually have a little tab part from where I was at the ending part. I'm gonna try to keep this video spoiler free video as much as I can, but there's a lot that goes to this book. Okay, so you start out with Cain, who, by the way, this book's great because it is part. There are characters in this book that are LGBTQ characters, and that's amazing because it's June, Pride Month. This book is I definitely read this book if you Pride Month. Okay, I'm sorry. Just read this book for that in particular. But it starts with Cain, who wakes up, doesn't have any, he's got like amnesia, doesn't have any memory of what has recently happened. And there's a bunch of these characters that keep, popping up, and he's like, hey, like, tell me what's going on, like, tell me. And they are a group who are able to go and it's not really necessarily explained why they are the only people who are able to do this thing, but they go to people's dreams come to life in a certain way, and they have to play out that specific dream in order to get it done or whatever. And it's so much harder to explain. Oh boy. Okay. Anyway, they have to go through these dreams. They play out. Sometimes that there's a reverie by. Like sometimes there'll be. I think there's like a little ball of light that pops up first. I could be wrong. But anyway, they end up doing that. He gets stuck in one of them, and he realizes, hey, like, why am I so conscious? Why am I not like playing out this role? And then the other characters are like that, and he finally is like, hey, like, what's going on, guys? Tell me what's going on. And he does figure out what happens very slowly. That's kind of the thing about this book. It's fast paced and also slow at the same time. There are moments where I'm like, oh, okay, that's good. It's good pauses, I guess. It's good pauses for the story, which is good because most of the time you don't have books that are like that. I want to give this book a really great praise because it is really good. It's good. The story, the plot's amazing. It has potential, but there's a few things that I'm a little about. And one of those things is the story. It's not that he doesn't throw exposition at you. It's more of a less exposition kind of thing that makes you, as a reader, like, guess kind of thing. Like, you're like, oh, how does reveries work? Well, they kind of briefly explain it. It could be, like, how do you know a person's going to have a reverie pop up? I think it's just like random, and they have to go with whatever it is, and they have to figure it out. How do they know the plot? Like, I know at some point during the book, they're like, oh, obviously this is a classic lover's tale kind of thing. Like, obviously this is a classic. And then sometimes it's like they don't know what the reverie is going to be until later on in the story, where they're like, oh, okay, they figure it out between cues and characters and specific things that happen in the reverie. They're like, oh, okay, so this is obviously a story about somebody who's lonely or someone who wants to control somebody kind of thing. But other than that, like I said, it's slow but not slow, and it's kind of like, here's the information, do with it as you will, kind of thing, which is good. Sometimes stories need those, and in particular, this one kind of maybe needs more, but it's a great story. The story itself is amazing. Character wise, I enjoy certain characters. There are some things with the characters that just kind of like, I know they set it up to where it's a surprise kind of thing. Like there's a specific character who is a drag queen, and I just love that. Because the character is so mysterious. Like you'll when you read the story, you'll see. One particular thing that I had an issue with in this story was character relationships. They set up Kane and his sister to be like, oh, they're best buds. They tell each other everything. Which, when you do have amnesia and you don't really know what's going on, but he specifically says he remembers that they are super close to each other. He doesn't have that kind of relationship later on, because he keeps everything from her. And I understand I understand the reasoning behind that. But if maybe it's just me, maybe I have this issue where I'm like, well, if I know that I'm best friends with my sister, I wouldn't keep her out of the loop. I would tell her, hey, I'm going to hang out with these friends, I'm going to go do this certain thing. He pretty much just ignores her most of the time. He like gets a text message from her and he's like, oh, I should probably reply back, but he doesn't reply back. He doesn't like communicate, I guess. Which is kind of like, it's a little thing. And that comes up later on in the story with her and her reverie. She does get a bit reverie. And then there's her and another character. I don't want to ruin it. I don't want to spoil that part. But they didn't set it up at all. And maybe that might be just a me problem, where I have to be able to tell that this is going to happen. Like, it was a surprise. And it was a good surprise. I was like, oh, hey, awesome, like, wow. But you didn't indicate at any point. Maybe there was indication, and I guess I didn't see them, but I was really like, wow, okay, that happened, which is good, cool. But at the same time, I was like, you could have like set it up that way. You could have just built it up to where these two characters are like, but anyway, I'm trying not to spoil it. But it is a good story. The author did an amazing job, and the best part about this is that he has fandoms. He likes fandoms, and he likes Sailor Moon, and he likes Xena, Warrior Princess, which who doesn't? I love those things, and it's great because like he likes anime and stuff, and that's amazing. And you don't really get to see that in many modern day authors. Like they don't express their hobbies as much. But if you know an author who does, like, feel free to tell me. Like, that's amazing. And he unapologetically is himself as an author, and this story is amazing. Like, the story itself is amazing, and the concepts and the theories are great. Characters are great too, but to an extent. And I hate to say that because, like, there are so many good representation in this book that there's good representation, but story-wise, could be a bit better. But you know what? Maybe I'll make a video where it's spoiler, it's all spoiler, and you guys can tell if you would like that. But I suggest to get this book and read it. They are on Goodreads. I have this on Goodreads. Maybe I'll put my Goodreads. But there's a few people that I read on Goodreads where they're talking about how they wanted to like this book, but they couldn't like this book because of some issues, plot holes, etc., whatever, the reasoning was. And that's valid. Like, that's a good reason. But I like this book mostly because of the representation and the concept. The concept is amazing. And I could potentially see this being a series. Maybe. Not sure yet. He hasn't said anything, and he hasn't really written anything else, that, as far as I know. But he sets it up to where it could be a sequel, which is amazing because I would love to know more about Reveries. I would love to know more about, there's at some point they're talking about threads and stuff and how it's connected all to one bigger thing, and that's something that I would love to see explored. Character development. I would love to see more character development, because he does develop as a character, but it's mostly through I had amnesia, I'm developing as my own new person kind of thing, which is good, because apparently the Kane before was very, not necessarily cowardly, but he would be doing different things, and the new Kane, he's like, why was I doing that? Like, that's ridiculous. I'm gonna put my foot down kind of thing. I'm gonna put my foot down and I'm gonna be a better person kind of thing. And that's good. That's good for characters. Potentially. And that's one of the things that is really good about this book, is that there's good sort of character development. There's room for improvement with the other characters. I highly suggest this book. If you like a good plot, if you like good setup, mystery, if you love this isn't necessarily like a mystery, it's like a YA. It's a fantasy in a certain way. It's a fantasy, maybe thriller, mystery kind of thing, because it really is a very mysterious story in general. Boy, there's a lot. There's a lot. You know what? If you guys want, I can make a whole nother video talking about this more in depth. But this book, I would highly recommend. It is good. I've read this book, and if you've read this book, you can comment down below how you feel about the book. Maybe if you want to read this book, you could tell me how you want to read this book. You know, it's just all what you want to do kind of thing. But I do think you should read this book. It's really good. To me, it was really good. But yeah. My next review that I would love to do, because I haven't started reading it yet, but the next letter was W, and I have the Watching You book. I heard some things about this book. I remember there was a TikTok that famously was a cringe TikTok that had this book in it, and I was kind of worried about reading it from there, but it is a thriller. It's a suspense kind of story. Thriller, suspense, and I'm excited to read it. I really kind of can't wait. So next time I'll be reviewing Watching You. Anyway, you guys have a good day, and I'll see you next time.